2 pink lines. That was all it took to turn a gilded cage into a life sentence. Luna Croft stared at the plastic stick trembling in her hands, her breath hitching in her throat like a trapped bird. The bathroom was larger than the entire apartment she had grown up in, clad in Italian marble and gold fixtures, but right now, the walls felt like they were closing in. Outside, the Seoul skyline was drowning in a torrential downpour, the thunder rattling the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse. But the storm outside was nothing compared to the hurricane ripping through Luna's chest. Pregnant. She was pregnant by the devil himself. Luna dropped the test into the trash can, burying it deep beneath used tissues, her hands shaking so violently she could barely coordinate her fingers. She had to leave. She had to leave now. Before he came home. Before the Viper of Seoul slithered back into his nest and sensed the change in her blood. This is a story about a trap set with diamonds and desire. A story about a man who didn't know how to love, only how to possess. And a woman who was about to realize that her freedom had been sold long before she ever signed her employment contract. Hello, my beautiful story lovers. Welcome back to the channel. I am so incredibly happy to have you here with me today. Before we dive into this heart-pounding, intense roller coaster of emotions, I have to ask, where are you watching from tonight? Are you tucked in bed in London? Grabbing a coffee in New York? Or maybe watching the rain fall in Mumbai? Let me know in the comments below. I love seeing how far our family reaches. And speaking of family, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do it now. Join us. We tell the stories that make your heart race and your palms sweat. You don't want to miss what happens to Luna, trust me. Luna scrambled out of the bathroom, her maid's uniform clinging uncomfortably to her clammy skin. She didn't bother changing. She just grabbed her worn duffel bag from under the bed in the servants' quarters and started shoving things inside. Her passport. The stash of cash she had been hiding inside a hollowed-out book. A photo of her late mother. Hurry. Hurry, you idiot. Tyen Park wasn't just a businessman. He wasn't just the owner of the Mirai Group. He was the shadow king of the city. He was the man who made politicians disappear and rivals apologize while begging for death. And for the last 6 months, Luna had been his personal maid. For the last 3 months, she had been his bed warmer. It hadn't been forced. Not exactly. It had been a slow, intoxicating seduction. A look across the room while she poured his wine. A hand grazing hers as she dusted his desk. He was devastatingly handsome, with eyes like obsidian and a jawline that could cut glass, and Luna, lonely and naive Luna, had fallen into his gravity. But she had seen the violence in him last week. She had seen him walk into the penthouse covered in blood that wasn't his eyes dead and cold, and she had realized that she was sleeping next to a monster. She had planned to resign next week. To run away. But the 2 pink lines changed everything. If he found out she was carrying his child, he would never let her leave. A man like Tyen Park didn't let go of his bloodline. He would lock her away in a tower and throw away the key. Luna zipped the bag, her heart hammering against her ribs like a war drum. She slipped her feet into her sneakers and cracked the door open. The hallway was silent. The penthouse was a fortress of silence. She moved toward the service elevator, her footsteps soundless on the plush carpet. Just make it to the ground floor, she prayed. Just make it to the subway. She rounded the corner into the grand foyer, the service elevator just 20 feet away. Freedom. It was right there. Going somewhere, Luna. The voice was low, smooth, and wrapped in velvet darkness. It stopped her heart dead in its chest. Luna froze. Slowly, terrified, she turned around. Tyen Park was sitting in the high-backed leather armchair in the corner of the foyer, shrouded in shadows. He hadn't been out. He had been waiting. He leaned forward, the lightning from the window illuminating the sharp angles of his face. He was wearing a black dress shirt, the top buttons undone, a glass of amber whiskey resting loosely in his hand. He looked like a fallen angel sitting on a throne of darkness. "Mr. Park," Luna whispered, instinctively hiding the duffel bag behind her leg. I was just taking out the trash." Tyen tilted his head, his dark eyes sliding over her, from her messy bun down to the bag she was failing to hide, and finally resting on her stomach. A shiver of primal fear raced down Luna's spine. "With a duffel bag?" Tyen asked, his voice devoid of humor. "At 2 in the morning? In a storm?" He stood up. The movement was fluid, predatory, like a panther uncoiling. He set the whiskey glass down on the side table with a sharp clink. My aunt is sick, Luna lied, the words tumbling out clumsily. I have to go to Busan. Tonight. It's an emergency. Tyne took a step toward her. Then another. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Your aunt died 5 years ago, Luna, he said softly. He knew. Of course he knew. He knew everything about her. Luna took a step back, her back hitting the cold wall. Please. I just want to leave. I quit. You can keep my last paycheck. Just let me go. Tyne stopped inches from her. He was so tall she had to crane her neck to look at him. He smelled of rain, expensive scotch, and danger. He reached out, his hand large and warm, and tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear. His touch was gentle, but Luna trembled as if he held a knife. You can't quit, little moon, he murmured, using the nickname he whispered to her in the dark. I can, Luna said, finding a scrap of courage. I am not a slave. I am leaving. Tyne's eyes dropped to her stomach again. His gaze felt heavy, possessing. You tried to hide it, he said. It wasn't a question. In the trash can. Beneath the tissues. Luna's blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're talking about. The test. The air left her lungs. You went through my trash. I know everything that happens in this house, Tyne said, his voice dropping to a husky growl. I know when you sleep. I know when you eat. And I know when you carry my air. He placed his hand flat against her stomach. The heat of his palms seared through her uniform. Get off me, Luna gasped, trying to push him away, but he was like a marble statue. Immovable. Did you really think you could run with him? Tyne asked, a dangerous light igniting in his eyes. Did you think I would let you take my son away? It might not be a son, Luna spat, panic making her reckless. And it doesn't matter. It's mine. My body. My choice. I'm leaving, Tyne. She tried to dodge past him, making a break for the door. Tyne's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, but firm enough to tell her that resistance was futile. He pulled her back, spinning her around until her back was pressed against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her, trapping her, his chin resting on top of her head. You don't understand, Luna, he whispered into her hair, and the confession that followed made her knees buckle. I didn't just find the test. I've been waiting for it. Luna stopped struggling. The words took a second to sink in. Waiting, she breathed. The birth control pills in your bathroom cabinet, Tyne said, his voice calm, terrifyingly rational. Did you think they were defective? Or did you just not notice that they had been replaced with sugar pills 3 months ago? The world spun violently. He had replaced them. He had planned this. You. Luna choked out, horror clawing at her throat. You did this on purpose? You got me pregnant on purpose. I needed a way to keep you, Tyne replied, tightening his hold on her as if he was hugging a lifeline. You were talking about nursing school. You were looking at apartments in Incheon. You were going to leave me. So you trapped me. Luna screamed, tears finally spilling over. You're insane. You're a monster. Perhaps, Tyne admitted, turning her around so she had to look at him. His eyes burned with an intensity that bordered on madness. It was obsession. Pure, unadulterated obsession. But you are mine now, Luna. Bound to me by blood. You can hate me. You can scream. You can cry. But you will never walk out of those doors. He leaned down, brushing his lips against her tear-stained cheek. I own you now, Luna Croft. You and the life growing inside you. We are a family. Outside, thunder cracked like a gunshot, sealing her fate. Luna looked into the eyes of the man she had thought she loved, and saw only iron bars. She was pregnant with the devil's child, and he had just locked the gate. What would you do? If you found out the person you trusted had deceived you in the most intimate way possible just to keep you, would you fight? Or would you break? The morning sun filtered through the silk drapes of the master bedroom, casting long, golden bars across the floor that looked too much like the bars of a cell. Luna lay still, staring at the ceiling, her body feeling heavy and foreign. It had been 3 days since her failed escape. 3 days since the revelation that shattered her reality. She wasn't in the servants' quarters anymore. Tyne had moved her into the master suite that very night. "My wife and child belong in my bed," he had said, ignoring her protests that she wasn't his wife. To him, the distinction was merely paperwork he hadn't gotten around to yet. Luna sat up, nausea rolling in her stomach, morning sickness, a cruel reminder of the trap growing inside her. She looked around the room. It was magnificent, truly. A walk-in closet filled with designer clothes she hadn't bought, a vanity stocked with perfumes she'd never worn. It was a life millions would kill for. But all Luna wanted was her dusty one-room apartment in the old district. She wanted the smell of roasted chestnuts from the street vendor below her window. She wanted the struggle, because the struggle was hers. Luna had grown up invisible. An orphan bounced between foster homes until she aged out of the system at 18. She had learned early that the only person she could rely on was herself. Her deepest fear wasn't poverty, she knew how to survive on rice and Kim Kai. Her deepest fear was loss of control. Being at the mercy of someone else's whims. And now, she was entirely at the mercy of Tyne Park. The door clicked open. Luna flinched, pulling the duvet up to her chin. A young woman bustled in, carrying a silver tray laden with fruit, porridge, and tea. This wasn't one of the regular staff. Luna had never seen her before. She was young, maybe barely 20, with bright, curious eyes and hair dyed a rebellious streak of purple at the ends. "Good morning, Miss Luna," the girl chirped, setting the tray down on the bedside table with a little too much enthusiasm. "Or is it Mrs. Park now?" The boss wasn't clear, he just said take care of the queen, which, wow, intense right? Luna blinked, thrown off by the girl's energy. "Who are you?" "Oh. I'm Ji-yoon. New personal assistant." "Oh, well, your personal assistant," Ji-yoon beamed. She leaned in conspiratorially. "Between you and me, the interview was terrifying. Mr. Park stared at me for 10 minutes without blinking. I think he was checking if I was an assassin. Or maybe he just hates purple hair." Despite the crushing weight in her chest, a tiny, hysterical giggle bubbled up in Luna's throat. "He probably hates the purple hair. He likes everything orderly." "Well, too bad for him," Ji-yoon said, pouring the tea. "So, eat up. You're eating for two now, right?" "That's what the kitchen staff is whispering." "Don't worry, I won't tell the tabloids. Though they'd pay a fortune." Ji-yoon was a breath of fresh air in this suffocating mausoleum. She was normal. Chaotic. Real. "Ji-yoon," Luna asked softly, "is the door locked?" Ji-yoon's smile faltered. She looked at the heavy oak door, then back at Luna, her eyes softening with a surprising amount of understanding. "The guards are outside, Miss Luna. 2 of them. Big guys. Look like they eat dumbbells for breakfast." She lowered her voice. "Mr. Park said you aren't to leave this floor without him. For your safety." Safety. That was the word he used to mask his possession. Luna pushed the tray away. "I'm not hungry." "You have to eat," a deep voice commanded from the doorway. Ji-yoon jumped and immediately bowed, scrambling backward. "Mr. Park." "Sir. I was just encouraging the appetite." Tyne strode into the room, dressed in a charcoal 3-piece suit that cost more than Luna would earn in 10 lifetimes. He looked immaculate. Powerful. And utterly unbothered by the fact that he was keeping a woman prisoner in his home. He dismissed Ji-yoon with a wave of his hand. The girl scuttled out, shooting Luna a sympathetic glance before closing the door. Tyne sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress dipped under his weight. Luna instinctively scooted away, but he reached out and captured her ankle under the duvet, his grip firm. "You didn't eat dinner last night," he said, his eyes scanning her face, looking for signs of weakness. "Starving yourself won't make the baby disappear, Luna. It will only make me angry." "I'm not starving myself," Luna said, her voice trembling but defiant. "I'm nauseous. Looking at you makes me sick." Tyne's jaw tightened, a muscle feathering in his cheek. It was the only sign that her barb had landed. "Be cruel if it helps you cope," he said coolly. "But you will eat." He picked up the bowl of porridge and a spoon. "Open. I am not a child." "Then stop acting like one. Stop fighting a war you have already lost." Luna stared at him. "Why me, Tyne? You could have anyone. Models. Actresses. Heiresses. Why the maid? Why the nobody?" Tyan lowered the spoon slowly. His obsidian eyes darkened, swirling with something that looked painfully like vulnerability, masked by obsession. Do you know what my life is, Luna? He asked quietly. It is noise. Everyone wants something. My money. My power. My protection. They look at me and see a bank account or a weapon. He leaned closer, his hand sliding up her leg to rest possessively on her knee. But you, that first day you walked into my office to clean the spilled coffee? You didn't look at me with greed. You didn't look at me with fear. You looked at me with annoyance because I had stained the rug. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. And when I came home late, bleeding, you didn't ask questions. You just bandaged me. You made me tea. You sat with me in the dark until the shaking stopped. He reached out and touched her cheek, his thumb tracing her lower lip. You are the only quiet thing in my world, Luna. The only peace I have ever known. Those other women? They are noise. You are silence. You are home. Luna felt a crack in her armor. She remembered those nights. She remembered bandaging his wounds, seeing the exhausted, haunted man beneath the monster. She had fallen for that man. But that man had betrayed her. You don't destroy your home to keep it, Tyan, she whispered. You don't cage peace. You do if you are terrified it will leave, he replied hoarsely. He put the spoon to her lips again. This time, defeated by his twisted logic and her own hunger, Luna opened her mouth. He fed her slowly, meticulously, wiping a drop of porridge from her lip with his thumb. It was intimate. It was tender. It was terrifying. Tonight, Tyan said after the bowl was empty, there is a gala. The Mirai Group's annual charity ball. I'm not going, Luna said immediately. You are, he corrected. I have ordered a dress for you. You will stand by my side. You will smile. And we will announce our engagement. Luna gasped. Engagement? You can't be serious. I am always serious. We will be married within the month. Before you start showing. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Ji-yoon will help you get ready. Don't try anything foolish, Luna. The guards have orders to carry you to the car if necessary. He turned to leave, but paused at the door. Oh, and Luna? I invited a guest for you. Someone from your past. An old friend from the orphanage. Sarah, I believe. Luna's heart stopped. Sarah was her sister in every way that mattered. The only family she had. She hadn't seen her in 2 years because Sarah lived in Daegu. Sarah is here. Luna asked, hope and dread warring in her chest. She will be at the gala, Tyan said, his eyes cold again. She is very excited to see you. I would hate for anything unfortunate to happen to her because you decided to make a scene tonight. The threat hung in the air, sharp and deadly. He wasn't just trapping her with a baby. He was using Sarah as leverage. You wouldn't, Luna whispered. Wear the red dress, Luna, Tyan said. It's my favorite. He walked out, leaving Luna alone in the golden cage. She looked at her reflection in the mirror across the room. Her eyes were wide, frightened, but beneath the fear, a spark of anger ignited. He thought she was peace. He thought she was silence. He was wrong. If he wanted a queen to stand by his side, he was going to get one. But queens didn't just sit on thrones. They ruled. And sometimes, they beheaded the king. The Grand Hyatt Seoul Ballroom glittered like a diamond under 1,000 crystal chandeliers. Seoul's elite, politicians, chaebols, and celebrities, mingled in a sea of silken tuxedos, the air thick with the scent of expensive perfume and quiet power. But the moment Tyan Park entered, the room shifted. The chatter didn't stop, but it dipped in volume. Heads turned. Eyes darted nervously. It was the gravitational pull of a black hole entering a solar system. And on his arm was Luna. Tyan hadn't lied about the dress. It was crimson, a deep, blood-red silk that hugged every curve of her body before cascading to the floor in a pool of liquid fire. It was backless, daring, and utterly stunning. He had adorned her neck with a diamond choker that felt less like jewelry and more like a collar. Luna walked beside him, her hand gripping his forearm so tightly her knuckles were white. She felt like an imposter. A maid in a queen's clothing. Every glance felt like a judgment. Who is she? Why is the Shadow King with her? Breathe, Tyan murmured against her ear, his hand firm on the small of her back. Head up. You belong here because I say you do. I see Sarah, Luna whispered, scanning the crowd desperately. Where is she? Patience, my love. After the announcement. Luna felt bile rise in her throat. The announcement. The engagement. The trap snapping shut in front of hundreds of witnesses. They moved through the crowd, Tyan accepting bows and murmured greetings with the arrogance of a feudal lord. Luna nodded mechanically, her smile brittle. Mr. Park. A booming voice cut through the murmurs. A thick-set man with a flushed face and a tuxedo that strained at the buttons approached them. He smelled of cigars and desperation. This was Councilman Choi, a powerful politician whose pockets were reportedly lined with Tyan's money. Councilman, Tyan acknowledged with a curt nod. And who is this lovely creature? Choi asked, his gaze raking over Luna with slimy appreciation. A new acquisition. The word made Luna flinch. Acquisition. Like a painting. Or a racehorse. Tyan's grip on her waist tightened, not in warning to her, but in possession. His eyes went flat and cold. This is Luna, Tyan said, his voice dropping to a dangerous register. My fiancée. Councilman Choi choked on his champagne. Fiancé? My God, Tyan, you're finally settling down? I thought you'd sooner marry your gun. He laughed nervously. Congratulations, my dear. You've caught a tiger. Excuse me, Luna mumbled, pulling away. I need some air. Luna, Tyan started, but she was already slipping through the crowd. Let her go, Tyan, Choi laughed. Let the girl breathe before the shackles go on. Tyan shot Choi a look that promised retribution later, but he let Luna go. He signaled to his guards in the corner. Watch her. Luna pushed through the throng, her heart racing. She needed a moment. Just one moment where she wasn't being touched, watched, or owned. She found the balcony doors and slipped outside into the cool night air. The balcony was empty, save for a few smokers at the far end. Luna gripped the stone railing, gulping down the air. Below, the city lights twinkled, mocking her with their freedom. Nice dress. It screams trophy wife perfectly. Luna spun around. Leaning against a pillar in the shadows was a man. He was younger than Tyan, Lena, with shaggy hair and a scar running through his left eyebrow. He wore a tuxedo, but he wore it carelessly, tie undone, jacket unbuttoned. He looked like trouble. Who are you? Luna asked, stepping back. The man pushed off the pillar and walked into the light. He had a dangerous smile, sharp and reckless. I'm the guy who knows you're not supposed to be here, he said. He stopped a few feet away, studying her. You don't have the eyes of a shark, sweetheart. You have the eyes of a deer in headlights. I'm Tyan Park's fiancée, Luna said, lifting her chin, trying to mimic Tyan's arrogance. The man laughed. It was a bark of genuine amusement. Fiancé? Is that what he calls his hostages now? Luna froze. How? How do I know? The man stepped closer. Because I know Tyan. I know how he operates. He sees something shiny, he takes it. He breaks it. He keeps the pieces. He extended a hand. I'm Seo Jun. Tyan's, let's call it brother. Luna stared at his hand. He doesn't have a brother. Half-brother. Illegitimate. The black sheep, Seo Jun grinned. The one he exiled to America 5 years ago. I wasn't invited tonight. I just love crashing parties. He lowered his hand and his voice dropped. I saw you trying to run 3 days ago. On the security feeds. Luna's breath hitched. You have access to his security? I have access to a lot of things. Including a way out. The world stopped. What? Luna whispered. I know about the baby, Luna, Seo Jun said softly. I know he trapped you. And I know that look in your eyes. You want to run. Tonight. Sarah is here, Luna said, tears stinging her eyes. He'll hurt her if I leave. Sarah is already safe, Seo Jun said. My men intercepted her car before she reached the hotel. She's on a plane to Jeju right now. Tyan doesn't know yet. Luna clutched the railing, her knees weak. You saved her. I'm saving you, Seo Jun corrected. There's a car waiting at the service entrance. Black sedan. Engine running. If you go now, you can be out of the city before he even realizes you're gone. Why? Luna asked, searching his face. Why would you help me? Seo-jun's smile faded, replaced by a deep, simmering hatred. Because taking you is the only thing that will truly hurt him, he said. And I want to watch him bleed. It wasn't kindness. It was revenge. Seo-jun was just another monster, fighting a monster. But right now, he was a monster offering an open door. You have 5 minutes, Seo-jun said, checking his watch. The announcement is at 9 o'clock. Once he puts that ring on your finger, the world will know you're his. You'll never get away. Luna looked back at the ballroom doors. Inside was Taein, the father of her child. The man who loved her in a twisted, suffocating way. The man who owned her. And in front of her was the unknown. A half-brother with a grudge. A getaway car. Freedom. But freedom had a price. If she ran with Taein's brother, she was declaring war. Luna made her choice. Show me the car, she whispered. Seo-jun grinned, and for the first time, he looked exactly like Taein. Follow me, sister-in-law. They moved toward the service stairs. Luna gathered her heavy skirts, her heart pounding in her throat. Every step away from the ballroom felt like a step off a cliff. They reached the ground floor. The service exit was ahead. Through the small window, she saw the black sedan. She was going to make it. She was actually going to. Luna. The roar came from the top of the stairs. It was primal. Terrifying. Luna looked up. Taein stood on the landing above them. He wasn't the composed businessman anymore. He was a demon unchained. His face was twisted in fury, his eyes burning with a rage that promised annihilation. And he was looking right at Seo-jun. Get away from her, you bastard. Taein bellowed, vaulting over the railing, dropping 10 feet to the floor below with a sickening thud, landing like a superhero, or a supervillain. Go! Seo-jun shouted, shoving Luna toward the door. Get in the car. Go! Seo-jun pulled a gun from his waistband. Taein didn't even slow down. He charged, tackling Seo-jun before he could raise the weapon. The two brothers crashed into a stack of catering trays, metal clattering everywhere. It was a brawl of pure hatred. Punches flew, brutal and fast. Taein was stronger, fueled by possessive rage. He slammed Seo-jun's head against the concrete floor. Run, Luna. Seo-jun screamed through a mouthful of blood. Luna pushed open the door. The rain hit her face. The car was right there. But she stopped. She looked back. Taein had his hands around Seo-jun's throat, squeezing the life out of him. But his eyes were locked on hers. They weren't angry anymore. They were terrified. Luna, he choked out, ignoring the blood dripping down his face. Don't. Please. Don't leave me. It was the first time he had ever said please. It was the first time she had seen the boy inside the beast. The lonely boy who just wanted peace. But then she remembered the birth control pills. The trap. The lies. I'm sorry, Taein, she whispered. She turned and ran into the rain. She threw herself into the backseat of the sedan. Drive, she screamed at the driver. Drive. The tires screeched. The car shot forward into the night. Through the rear window, Luna watched as the service door burst open. Taein stumbled out, alone, Seo-jun left unconscious on the floor behind him. Taein stood in the pouring rain, watching her tail lights fade. He didn't chase. He didn't scream. He just stood there, looking like a man whose world had just ended. And Luna realized with a sinking heart that Seo-jun was wrong. This wouldn't make Taein bleed. This would make him burn the world down. She had just started a war. And she was the prize. The safe house was a fortress of glass and steel perched on a cliff overlooking the grey, churning sea of Jeju Island. It was beautiful, desolate, and terrifyingly silent. Luna had been here for a month. Her stomach had just begun to swell, a tiny, barely perceptible curve hidden beneath oversized sweaters. She spent her days staring at the horizon, waiting for the inevitable. Waiting for Taein. Seo-jun wasn't the savior she had hoped for. He was a jailer with a different face. He kept her contained, monitored, protected. He visited every few days, bringing supplies and news from the mainland. News of the chaos Taein was unleashing on Seoul. He torched 3 of my warehouses last night, Seo-jun said, tossing a newspaper onto the coffee table. The headline screamed, "Gang war erupts in Gangnam." He's losing his mind, Luna. He's not even being strategic. He's just destroying. Luna picked up the paper, her hands trembling. There was a photo of a burning building, the smoke black against the night sky. She traced the image. This was her fault. Is Sarah safe? Luna asked, looking up. Sarah is fine. She's in Osaka. I moved her again just to be sure, Seo-jun said, pouring himself a drink. He looked tired. The scar on his brow seemed deeper. But you're the problem. I asked you to let me go, Luna said quietly. I never asked for this war. There is no letting you go anymore, Seo-jun laughed bitterly. Taein has put a bounty on my head. 10 billion won. Do you know how many assassins are crawling out of the woodwork for that kind of money? The only thing keeping me alive is you. He knows if he kills me, he might never find you. Luna felt sick. She wasn't free. She was just a human shield. I need to talk to him, Luna said abruptly. Seo-jun froze. Are you insane? He's burning down the city, Seo-jun. Innocent people are going to get hurt. If I talk to him, maybe I can calm him down. Or maybe he'll trace the call and send a drone strike to this living room, Seo-jun sneered. No. No contact. But that night, Luna found a burner phone Seo-jun had carelessly left in his jacket pocket. Her hands shook as she dialed the number. She knew it by heart. She had memorized it on those long nights when he would whisper it to her, telling her to call him if she ever needed anything. Even if he was in a meeting with the Prime Minister. Even if the world was ending. Pick up. Please pick up. It rang once. Who is this? The voice was rough. Ragged. Like he had been swallowing glass. Luna closed her eyes, tears leaking out. Taein. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. For 10 seconds, the only sound was the static on the line and the beating of her own heart. Luna, he breathed. The sound was broken. Where are you? I can't tell you. Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? If he touched you, I will flay him alive, Luna. I swear it. I'm fine, Luna whispered. I'm safe. But you have to stop, Taein. The fires. The fighting. Please. Stop. He let out a dark, mouthless laugh. You took my heart out of my chest and walked away with it, and you want me to stop? I will burn this country to ash until I find you. Taein, listen to me, Luna pleaded, clutching the phone. The baby is fine. I'm taking care of us. But I can't come back to a cage. I can't. It wasn't a cage, he said, his voice cracking. It was a sanctuary. Why couldn't you see that? Because you locked the door. Because I love you, he roared. The confession echoed down the line, raw and terrifying. I love you, Luna. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be gentle. I only know how to keep. And I want to keep you. Luna sobbed, her hand over her mouth. Come back to me, he whispered, begging now. The King of Seoul, begging a maid. I'll change. I'll open the doors. I'll let you go to the market. I'll let you see Sarah. Just, come home. Luna wavered. She heard the pain in his voice. She felt the pull of him, the magnetic force that had drawn her in from the start. Maybe he could change. Maybe the baby would change him. Taein, The phone was snatched from her hand. Luna spun around. Seo-jun stood there, his face contorted in fury. He ended the call and crushed the phone in his hand. You stupid girl, he hissed. Do you think he traced that? Do you think he's changed? He's a psychopath, Luna. He's telling you what you want to hear. He sounded broken, Luna whispered. He's manipulating you. Seo-jun grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. He's Taein Park. He doesn't break. He waits. Suddenly, the lights in the safe house flickered and died. Total darkness. What was that? Luna gasped. Seo-jun swore under his breath, reaching for his gun. He traced it. That fast. He traced it. A low hum filled the air. The sound of engines. Helicopters. We have to move, Seo-jun barked, grabbing her wrist. Now. They ran for the back door, stumbling into the night. Above them, searchlights cut through the darkness, sweeping the cliffs. Down there. A voice amplified by a loudspeaker boomed from the sky. Surrender the girl, Seo-jun. And I might let you die quickly. Taein was here. He hadn't sent men. He had come himself. Seo-jun dragged Luna toward a hidden garage where a jeep was waiting. Get in. No. Luna pulled back. He's here. I'm not running anymore. You think he's here to kiss you? Seo-jun snarled, shoving her into the passenger seat. He's here to punish you. He slammed the door and jumped into the driver's seat, gunning the engine. The jeep roared out of the garage, tearing down the winding cliff road. Behind them, 3 black SUVs appeared out of nowhere, their headlights blinding in the rearview mirror. The chase was on. Luna gripped the dashboard as Seo-jun swerved around corners, tires screeching. The SUVs were gaining. They were faster, heavier. They rammed the back of the jeep, sending them skidding toward the edge of the cliff. Stop. Luna screamed. You're going to kill us. Better dead than his. Seo-jun yelled back, eyes wild. A gunshot shattered the rear window. Glass sprayed over them. Luna looked back. Taein was leaning out of the window of the lead SUV, a gun in his hand. His face was a mask of grim determination. He wasn't shooting at the tires. He was shooting at Seo-jun. He fired again. The bullet struck Seo-jun in the shoulder. He cried out, losing control of the wheel. The jeep spun. Time seemed to slow down. Luna saw the guardrail approaching. She saw the dark ocean churning below. She saw Taein's face in the flash of the headlights, his eyes wide with horror as he realized what was about to happen. The jeep smashed through the rail. For a second, they were flying. Weightless. Suspended in the black void. Then they hit the water. The impact was like hitting concrete. Cold water rushed in, filling the cabin instantly. Luna gasped, taking in a mouthful of salt water. The jeep sank rapidly, darker and deeper. She fumbled with her seatbelt. It was jammed. Panic set in. Pure, animal panic. She clawed at the buckle, her lungs burning. The water was freezing. Darkness swallowed everything. I'm going to die. My baby is going to die. Beside her, Seo-jun was unconscious, blood clouding the water. Luna screamed a silent scream, bubbles escaping her lips. Her vision started to tunnel. The cold seeped into her bones, numbing her fingers. She stopped fighting. She closed her eyes, thinking of her mother. Thinking of the tiny life inside her that would never see the sun. Then, a light. A beam of light cutting through the murky water. Something smashed the passenger window. Glass shattered inward. Arms. Strong arms reached in. Hands fumbled with her seatbelt. She knew those hands. She knew the strength of them. Taein. The buckle clicked open. He grabbed her, pulling her out of the sinking metal coffin. He kicked off the jeep, propelling them upward, toward the surface, toward the air. They broke the surface, gasping. Rain lashed at their faces. The waves were brutal. But Taein held her. He held her with an iron grip, treading water, keeping her head above the swells. I've got you, he choked out, coughing water. I've got you, Luna. Breathe. He dragged her toward the rocky shore. They collapsed on the jagged stones, shivering, drenched, and exhausted. Luna coughed up water, her throat burning. She looked up. Taein was hovering over her. His expensive suit was ruined. His hair was plastered to his face. He was shivering violently. But he wasn't looking at himself. He was checking her. Feeling her pulse. Checking her stomach. The baby? He asked, his voice raw with terror. Luna placed a hand on her womb. It felt quiet. But she nodded. I think so. Taein let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh. He collapsed onto his back beside her, staring up at the rain. I almost killed you, he whispered. I almost killed both of you. Luna looked at him. The monster of soul. The man who had hunted her down. The man who had just dove into freezing ocean to save her. Why didn't you let me go? She asked softly. Taein turned his head to look at her. His eyes were red-rimmed and utterly defeated. Because I can't breathe when you aren't there, he said simply. He reached out a hand. Trembling. Palm open. Not grabbing. Not taking. Asking. Let me take you to the hospital, he said. Please. Just, let me make sure you are okay. And then, if you want to leave, I will let you go. Luna stared at his hand. He was offering her a choice. Finally. But as she looked at him, shivering and broken on the rocks, she realized something terrifying. She didn't want to leave anymore. She reached out and took his hand. Take me home, Tyin, she whispered. But as the helicopter descended to pick them up, Luna didn't see the shadow moving in the water below. Seo-jun had not been in the jeep when it hit the bottom. The war wasn't over. It had just moved underwater. The hospital wing of the Park estate was more advanced than most public hospitals in Seoul. It was sterile, white, and eerily quiet, save for the rhythmic beeping of the monitor next to Luna's bed. She had been here for a week. The doctors, Tyin's personal medical team, had confirmed the baby was safe. A miracle, they said. Luna called it stubbornness. The child was clearly as tenacious as its father. Tyin had kept his word. He hadn't locked the door. He hadn't forced her to eat. He slept in a chair in the corner of the room, waking at every shift of her sheets, but he didn't touch her unless she asked. He was like a ghost haunting his own life, terrified that if he got too close, she would vanish again. But today, the air felt different. Heavier. Tyin walked in, holding a tablet. His face was unreadable, which usually meant bad news. How are you feeling? He asked, standing at the foot of the bed. Better, Luna said, sitting up. Tyin, you said if I came back, we could talk. Really talk. About us. About the lies. We will, he said, placing the tablet on the bedside table. But first, there is something you need to see. Something Seo-jun left behind. Luna frowned. Seo-jun is dead. We didn't recover a body, Tyin said grimly. Which means he is either fish food or plotting his next move. But his laptop was recovered from the safe house. My tech team cracked it this morning. He tapped the screen. A video file opened. Watch. Luna picked up the tablet. The video was grainy, shot from a hidden camera. It showed a dimly lit office. She recognized the man behind the desk instantly. It was Tyin's father, the late Chairman Park, a man known for his cruelty even more than his son. And sitting across from him was a woman. Luna gasped. The tablet nearly slipped from her fingers. It was her mother. Younger. Healthier. But undeniably her. This is dated 20 years ago, Tyin said softly. Luna pressed play, her heart pounding. I can't do it anymore, Chairman, her mother's voice said, trembling but firm. I won't spy on him. He's just a boy. He is an aberration, Chairman Park spat. A mistake. Tyin is weak. He has too much of his mother in him. I need to know his weaknesses so I can crush them out of him. I won't help you abuse your son, her mother shouted. I'm leaving. And I'm taking Luna. If you leave, the chairman said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper, you leave with nothing. No money. No references. You will be destitute. And if you ever try to contact Tyin, I will kill the girl. The video cut to black. Luna stared at the blank screen, her mind reeling. My mother. She whispered. My mother worked for your family. She was my nanny, Tyin said, his voice thick with emotion. For 3 years. When my mother died, she was the only one who showed me kindness. She bandaged my knees. She read me stories. She was the only mother figure I ever had. He walked over to the window, looking out at the gardens. I loved her, Luna. As a child loves a parent. And then one day, she just vanished. My father told me she stole from us. That she hated me. That she left because I was unlovable. He turned back to her, tears shining in his eyes. I believed him. For 20 years, I believed that even the woman who raised me couldn't love me. It's why I don't trust. Why I lock things away. He gestured to the tablet. But she didn't leave because she hated me. She left to protect you. Luna looked down at her hands. The connection between them wasn't just accidental. It wasn't just a maid and a boss. Their lives had been intertwined for decades, bound by the cruelty of one man. Seo-jun knew. Tyen continued. That's why he targeted you. Not just because you were my maid. But because he knew who your mother was. He knew that finding out I was the son of the man who ruined her life would destroy you. Luna felt a wave of nausea. Seo-jun, he didn't want to save me. He wanted to use me to hurt you. Yes. And you. Luna looked at Tyen, seeing him with new eyes. He wasn't just a monster born of privilege. He was a boy who had been systematically stripped of love, told he was broken, and then betrayed by the only person who cared for him, or so he thought. I hated my father, Tyen said quietly. But I became him. I trapped you just like he trapped my mother. Just like he tried to trap yours. He walked over to the bed and knelt down, taking her hand. I don't want to be him, Luna. I saw the video and I realized. I am repeating the cycle. And I can't do that to our child. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a key. An old-fashioned iron key. This opens the back gate, he said, pressing it into her palm. There is a car waiting. With cash. A new identity. A passport for you and the baby. Luna stared at the key. It was heavy. Cold. You're letting me go? I am setting you free, Tyen corrected. No trackers. No guards. You leave. You go to Sarah. You live your life. He closed her fingers around the key and kissed her knuckles. Please, he whispered, a tear escaping and tracking down his cheek. Go. Before I change my mind. Before the monster comes back. He stood up and walked to the door. He didn't look back. He couldn't. Luna sat in the silence of the hospital room, clutching the key. Freedom. It was finally hers. She could leave. She could raise her child away from the violence, the blood, the shadows. She could honor her mother's sacrifice. She swung her legs out of bed. She grabbed the envelope of cash and the passport from the nightstand where he had left them. She put on her coat. She walked to the door. She walked down the hallway. The staff averted their eyes, as if they knew. She reached the back gate. The car was there. A nondescript sedan. The driver's door was unlocked. The keys were in the ignition. Luna opened the car door. She looked back at the mansion. It loomed against the grey sky, massive and lonely. She thought of Tyen kneeling by her bed. I can't breathe when you aren't there. She thought of the boy who had lost his nanny. The man who had been taught that love was weakness. She thought of the baby growing inside her. A child made of both of them. If she left, she would be safe. But Tyen would be alone. He would descend into the darkness completely. He would become his father. And their child would never know him. Luna stood in the driveway, the rain beginning to fall again. The key burned in her hand. She looked at the car. Then at the house. Damn it, she whispered. She slammed the car door shut. She turned around and walked back toward the mansion. She found Tyen in his study. He was pouring a drink, his hands shaking so badly the crystal decanter rattled against the glass. He looked up when she entered, shock washing over his face. You missed your flight, he choked out. I'm not flying anywhere, Luna said, tossing the key onto his desk. It landed with a heavy thud. Luna, why? I gave you an out. You did, she said, walking toward him. And that's why I'm staying. She stopped in front of him, placing her hands on his chest, over his racing heart. You aren't your father, Tyen. Your father would never have let me go. You did. I am a monster, he whispered. Maybe, she admitted. But you're my monster. And this baby needs a father. Not a memory. She looked up into his eyes. I'm staying. But things change. No more secrets. No more cages. We do this together. Or not at all. Tyen stared at her as if she were a hallucination. Then, with a groan of pure relief, he pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her neck. Together, he vowed against her skin. Forever. They stood there, holding each other, thinking the storm had passed. Thinking the worst was over. But on the desk, Tyen's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It was a picture. A picture of Sarah. Bound and gagged in a warehouse. And beneath it, a text. I told you, brother. I want to watch you bleed. Bring the girl. Or the sister dies. Seo-jun wasn't dead. And he had just played his final card. The warehouse district of Incheon smelled of rust, salt, and decay. The fog was thick tonight, rolling off the ocean in suffocating waves, hiding the monsters that lurked within it. Luna sat in the passenger seat of Tyen's armored SUV, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. "You stay in the car," Tyen said, checking his gun for the third time. His face was a mask of deadly calm, but his eyes were frantic. "The windows are bulletproof. The doors are reinforced. Do not open them for anyone but me." "He wants me, Tyen," Luna whispered. "He said bring the girl." "I am not trading you," Tyen snapped, his voice cracking. "I am going to kill him. I am going to get Sarah, and I am going to end this." "He has leverage," Luna argued. "If you go in there shooting, he'll kill her. And if I give you to him, he'll kill you both. And my unborn child." Tyen slammed his hand against the steering wheel. "I can't lose you, Luna. I just got you back." He turned to her, cupping her face. "Trust me. Please. Trust me to protect you." Luna nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I trust you." Tyen kissed her forehead, a lingering, desperate kiss that felt like goodbye. Then he opened the door and stepped out into the fog. 6 of his best men surrounded him, moving like shadows. They approached the warehouse entrance. Luna watched through the reinforced glass, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Please be safe. Please bring Sarah home." Inside the warehouse, the air was stale. Single floodlights cut through the gloom, illuminating a chair in the center of the vast, empty space. Sarah was tied to it. She was bruised, unconscious, her head lolling to the side. "Sarah!" Tyen shouted, his voice echoing off the metal walls. A slow clap echoed from the catwalk above. "Right on time, brother." Seo-jun stepped out of the shadows on the upper walkway. He looked worse for wear, his arm was in a sling, his face scraped and battered from the crash, but his grin was manic. He held a detonator in his good hand. "Where is she?" Seo-jun called down. "I don't see my sister-in-law." "She's not coming," Tyen snarled, raising his gun. "Let Sarah go, Seo-jun. This is between us." "Oh, it is," Seo-jun laughed. "But Sarah is just the appetizer. See, I knew you wouldn't bring Luna. You're too possessive. Too predictable." He pressed a button on the remote. A beep echoed through the warehouse. Then another. Then a chorus of them. Tyen froze. He looked around. C4 charges were strapped to the support pillars. To the walls. To Sarah's chair. "It's a trap," Tyen whispered. "Run," he screamed at his men. "Get out. Now." "Too late." Seo-jun cackled. "Say goodbye to your empire, Tyen." He didn't press the detonator for the bombs. He pressed a different button. The massive metal doors of the warehouse slammed shut with a thunderous clang, sealing them inside. Then, Seo-jun turned and ran toward a back exit on the catwalk. "No!" Tyen roared, sprinting toward the stairs. "Seo-jun!" But before he could reach the stairs, a heavy metal grate descended from the ceiling, slamming into the concrete floor, cutting him off from the upper level. Cutting him off from Seo-jun. And cutting him off from the exit. Tyen spun around. He was trapped. His men were trapped. Sarah was trapped. And the bombs were counting down. 5 o'clock, 4:59. Outside, Luna screamed as the warehouse doors slammed shut. "Tyen!" She scrambled over the center console, ignoring his orders, and threw open the driver's door. She ran toward the warehouse, pounding on the metal. "Tyen! Open the door." Silence. Then, Seo-jun's voice crackled over an external speaker system. "Hello, Luna." Luna spun around. Seo-jun was walking out of a side door, flanked by 4 mercenaries. He limped, but he looked triumphant. "You." Luna breathed. "You trapped him." "I buried him," Seo-jun corrected. 5 minutes, Luna. That's how long until that building turns into a crater. Tyen, Sarah, the loyal dogs, they're all dead men walking. He gestured to his men. 2 of them moved toward Luna. "Now," Seo-jun said, "you come with me. We have a boat waiting. And a very long trip ahead of us." "You're a monster." Luna screamed, backing away. "I'm the winner," Seo-jun shrugged. Luna looked at the warehouse. 5 minutes. She looked at Seo Jun's men approaching her. She had a choice. Run. Or fight. But she wasn't a fighter. She was a maid. She was pregnant. She was unarmed. One of the mercenaries grabbed her arm. "Don't make this hard, sweetheart," he grunted. Luna struggled, kicking and screaming. "Let me go. Tien. Tien." Inside the warehouse, Tien heard her scream through the thick walls. It tore through him like a blade. He looked at the timer. 4:15. He looked at Sarah, still unconscious. He looked at his terrified men. "Boss," his lieutenant said, voice trembling. "We can't breach the doors. They are reinforced steel." Tien closed his eyes. He had failed. He had tried to protect everyone, and he had failed. He was going to die here. Sarah was going to die here. And Luna. Luna was going to be taken by the man who wanted to destroy her. "No," Tien whispered. He opened his eyes. They weren't the eyes of a defeated man. They were the eyes of a man who had nothing left to lose. "Check the floor," Tien ordered. "Sir." This warehouse was built on the old smuggling tunnels. Tien shouted. "My father used them in the 90s. There is a hatch somewhere. Find it." His men scrambled, tearing up crates, kicking aside debris. 3:30. "Here," a soldier yelled. "I found it. It's welded shut." Tien ran over. A rusted iron hatch was set into the concrete. "Shoot the hinges." Tien commanded. They opened fire. Sparks flew. The metal groaned but held. 3 o'clock. "It's not working." "Use the grenade." Tien pointed at the soldier's belt. "Sir, in a confined space." "Do it." The soldier pulled the pin and tossed the grenade onto the hatch. "Cover." They dove behind crates. Boom. The explosion shook the building. Dust rained down. Tien was up before the smoke cleared. The hatch was blown open, revealing a dark, jagged hole leading into the earth. "Get Sarah." Tien yelled. 2 men grabbed Sarah's chair, cutting her bonds and lifting her. "Go. Go. Go." They started lowering her into the tunnel. 1:45. Outside, Luna was being dragged towards Seo Jun's waiting van. "Stop fighting." Seo Jun snapped, slapping her. The blow knocked Luna to the ground. She tasted blood. "He's dead, Luna." Seo Jun shouted, grabbing her hair and pulling her face up to look at the warehouse. "Look at it. It's his tomb." Luna looked at the looming metal structure. "No. He promised. He promised we'd do this together." "Get her in the van," Seo Jun ordered. The mercenaries hauled her up. They threw her into the back of the van and slammed the doors. Luna clawed at the handles. Locked. The engine started. The van began to move. "No." Luna screamed, pounding on the walls. "Tien." Inside the tunnel, Tien was the last one left. 0:30. He looked up at the warehouse ceiling one last time. "I'm coming for you, Luna," he whispered. He jumped into the hole. 0:10, 0:05. The van turned the corner, speeding away from the docks. Midnight. The night sky turned white. A massive fireball erupted from the warehouse, tearing the roof off, shattering windows for miles. The ground shook violently. Inside the van, Luna watched through the rear window as the building, and the man she loved, was consumed by an inferno. "No," she whimpered, sliding down to the floor of the van. "No, no, no." He was gone. The father of her child. Her captor. Her savior. Her love. Gone. And she was alone with the devil. The explosion's shockwave rattled the van, but Seo Jun didn't slow down. He sat in the passenger seat, watching the inferno in the side mirror with a look of terrifying satisfaction. "Beautiful," he murmured. "Absolutely beautiful." In the back, Luna lay curled on the floor, shaking. The light from the explosion had seared itself into her retinas, a blinding white flash that signaled the end of her world. Tien was dead. Sarah was dead. Everyone was dead. Grief, thick and suffocating, threatened to pull her under. It would be so easy to just stop. To let the darkness take her. To close her eyes and never wake up. But then, a flutter. Deep in her belly. A tiny, almost imperceptible movement. The baby. Luna's hand flew to her stomach. It wasn't a kick, it was too early for that, but it was something. A pulse. A reminder. We are a family, Tyan had said. I own you now. You and the life growing inside you. He hadn't owned her to control her. He had owned her to protect her. And in his final moments, he had stayed behind to try and save Sarah. To try and save his men. He hadn't died a monster. He had died a hero. And a hero's legacy didn't end in the back of a van, crying on the floor. Luna wiped her face. Her hand came away bloody from where Seojun had hit her, but her eyes were dry. The grief hardened into something cold and sharp. Something like steel. She looked around the van. It was a transport vehicle, stripped bare. No tools. No weapons. 2 mercenaries sat on the bench seat opposite her, watching her with bored indifference. She needed a weapon. She felt the key in her pocket. The heavy iron key Tyan had given her at the hospital. This opens the back gate. It was useless now, or was it? She slipped her hand into her pocket, fingers closing around the cold metal. It was long, with a jagged end. Not a knife, but in the right hands. The van hit a pothole, bouncing violently. Watch the road, idiot. Seojun barked at the driver. Sorry, boss. The roads are slick. Luna saw her chance. She groaned loudly, clutching her stomach. My baby. Something is wrong. The mercenaries glanced at each other. She's faking, one muttered. Please. Luna screamed, doubling over. It hurts. I think I'm bleeding. Seojun turned around. Check her. If she loses the kid, she's worth less as a hostage. One mercenary stood up, crouching next to Luna. Let me see. He reached for her arm. Luna moved. She didn't pull away. She lunged. With all her strength, she drove the jagged end of the iron key into the mercenary's eye. He screamed, a horrible, guttural sound, and reeled back, clutching his face. What the second mercenary shouted, reaching for his gun. But Luna was already moving. She grabbed the first mercenary's dropped pistol from the floor. She didn't know how to shoot. She had never held a gun in her life. But she had watched Tyan. Point. Squeeze. She fired. The shot went wild, shattering the partition window between the cab and the back. The driver swerved in panic. The van fishtailed on the wet road. Seojun roared, "Control the damn car." Luna fired again. And again. Chaos erupted in the small space. The van slammed into a guardrail, spinning out of control before crashing into a ditch. The impact threw Luna against the wall, knocking the wind out of her. Silence. Then, groans. Luna pushed herself up. Her head was spinning, but she was alive. The back doors had popped open on impact. She scrambled out, stumbling into the muddy grass. The rain was still falling, washing the blood from her hands. She was in the middle of nowhere. Rice paddies stretched out on either side. She heard movement from the front of the van. Seojun kicked the passenger door open, stumbling out. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead, his face twisted in rage. "You bitch," he screamed, raising his gun. Luna raised hers. Her hands were shaking. "Stay back," she yelled. "You think you can kill me?" Seojun laughed, walking toward her. "You're a maid, Luna. A pregnant little nothing. You don't have the guts." He was right. She hesitated. Seojun grinned and leveled his weapon. But before he could pull the trigger, a sound cut through the rain. A rumble. Deep. Guttural. The ground beneath them shook. And then, from the drainage tunnel beneath the road, 100 yards away from the burning warehouse, a figure emerged. He was covered in soot. His clothes were shredded. He looked like he had crawled out of hell itself. Tyan Park. He wasn't dead. He stumbled out of the tunnel, coughing, followed by Sarah and his surviving men. Luna gasped, dropping the gun. "Tyan." Seojun spun around, his face paling. "No. Impossible." Tyan looked up. He saw the crashed van. He saw Luna standing in the rain. He saw Seojun raising his gun at her. And the last remnant of humanity in Tyan Park snapped. He didn't yell. He didn't run. He just vanished. He moved with a speed born of pure, unadulterated fury. He crossed the distance in seconds, a blur of motion. Seo-jun fired. Tyen didn't even flinch. The bullet grazed his arm, but he didn't stop. He tackled Seo-jun into the mud. It wasn't a fight. It was an execution. Tyen rained blows down on his brother, each one echoing with a lifetime of betrayal. Of pain. Of fear. You touched her. Tyen roared, slamming a fist into Seo-jun's jaw. You touched my family. Seo-jun tried to fight back, but he was broken. Outmatched. Finally, Tyen stood up, breathing heavily. Seo-jun lay in the mud, barely conscious, his face a ruin. Tyen pulled his own gun from his holster. He aimed it at Seo-jun's head. Tyen! Luna screamed, running toward him. Tyen froze. His finger hovered over the trigger. Do it, Seo-jun gurgled, laughing through blood bubbles. Prove you're just like father. A killer. A monster. Tyen's hand trembled. Luna reached him. She didn't grab the gun. She grabbed his other hand. His free hand. Don't, she whispered. He's defeated. It's over. He tried to kill you, Tyen rasped, not looking at her. He tried to take my son. And if you kill him like this, in cold blood, he wins, Luna said. He wants you to be the monster, Tyen. Don't give him the satisfaction. Tyen looked at her. His eyes were wild, dilated, terrifying. But as he looked at Luna, at the mud on her face, the fierce determination in her eyes, the madness began to recede. He looked down at Seo-jun. You aren't worth the bullet, Tyen spat. He holstered his gun. Get him out of my sight, he ordered his men, who had just caught up. Lock him in the deepest hole we have. Let him rot. The guards dragged Seo-jun away. Tyen turned to Luna. He looked at her as if he wanted to devour her and worship her at the same time. You're alive, he whispered, reaching out to touch her face. I saw the van leave. I fought, Luna said, a smile breaking through her tears. I used the key. Tyen laughed. A broken, incredulous sound. He pulled her into his arms, crushing her against his chest. He smelled of smoke and blood and rain, but to Luna, he smelled like survival. I love you, he sobbed into her neck. I love you so much. I know, Luna whispered, holding him tight. I love you too. Sarah limped over, supported by one of the guards. She looked battered, but alive. Well, Sarah croaked, a lopsided grin on her face. That was one hell of a family reunion. Luna reached out and pulled her sister into the hug. They stood there in the rain, a tangled mess of broken people. But they were alive. They were together. And for the first time, Luna didn't feel trapped. She felt found. The chaos of the night had faded into a tense, fragile dawn. The rain had stopped, leaving Seoul washed clean and glistening under a pale gray sky. But the story wasn't over. Tyen had dragged Seo-jun to justice, not the police, but his justice. He was locked away in a secure facility, a ghost who would never haunt them again. However, one threat remained. The Mirai Group board. The corrupt councilman. The vultures who had circled while Tyen was distracted by war. They had called an emergency meeting at the corporate headquarters. The agenda: remove Tyen Park as CEO, citing instability and criminal conduct. They wanted to strip him of his legacy. To take the power he had used to protect his family. They think I'm weak, Tyen said, standing in the penthouse living room. He had showered and changed into a fresh suit. Black, sharp, impeccable. But the bruises on his knuckles and the exhaustion in his eyes told a different story. They think last night broke me. Did it? Luna asked. She was sitting on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket. Sarah was asleep in the guest room, safe at last. Tyen walked over to her. He knelt, resting his hands on her knees. It broke the part of me that was afraid, he said softly. I'm not afraid anymore, Luna. Because I have nothing left to hide. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Stay here. Rest. I need to go finish this. No, Luna said, standing up. The blanket fell away. She was wearing the red dress. The one from the gala. It was torn at the hem and stained with mud, but she wore it like armor. I'm coming with you. Luna. You said we'd do this together, she interrupted. No more secrets. No more hiding. If they want to judge you, they can judge us both. Tyne looked at her. He saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire that had driven a key into a mercenary's eye. A slow, proud smile spread across his face. Get your shoes, Mrs. Park. The boardroom of the Mireille Group was a cavern of mahogany and glass. 12 men in expensive suits sat around the table, murmuring like conspirators. At the head sat Councilman Choi, looking smug. He's not coming, Choi declared, checking his watch. He's probably halfway to Mexico by now. The vote proceeds. All in favor of removing Tyne Park. The double doors banged open. Tyne walked in. He didn't walk like a man on trial. He walked like a king returning to execute traitors. And beside him walked Luna. The room fell silent. Sorry I'm late, Tyne said, his voice cool and smooth. I had to take out the trash. He walked to the head of the table. Choi scrambled out of the chairman's chair, scurrying to a side seat. Tyne didn't sit. He stood, resting his hands on the polished wood. I hear there are concerns about my stability, he began, scanning the faces of the men who had eaten at his table and then plotted his demise. About my methods. Tyne, Choi sputtered, there were explosions. Gunfights. The stock is plummeting. You've brought a gang war to our doorstep. I ended a war, Tyne corrected. Permanently. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick folder. He tossed it onto the table. It slid across the surface, stopping in front of Choi. What is this? Evidence, Tyne said. Of kickbacks. Money laundering. Human trafficking rings funded by this board. The color drained from Choi's face. My brother was a problem, Tyne continued, his voice hardening. But he was just a symptom. You are the disease. He pointed at the folder. That goes to the prosecutor general in 1 hour. Unless what? A board member whispered. Unless you all resign. Effective immediately. Outrage erupted. You can't do that. We built this company. You leached off this company. Luna's voice cut through the noise. Everyone turned to look at her. The maid in the ruined red dress. You sat here in your towers while he bled to protect this city, Luna said, stepping forward. Her voice didn't shake. You call him a monster? You're the monsters. You just wear better suits. She looked at Tyne. He is the father of my child. He is the man who saved my life. And he is 10 times the man any of you will ever be. She placed a hand on her stomach, staring down the room of powerful men. So sign the papers. Or we burn it all down. And trust me, we know how to start a fire. Silence stretched. Heavy. Suffocating. Then, slowly, Councilman Choi picked up a pen. One by one, they signed. When the last signature was dry, Tyne picked up the papers. He looked at Luna, and the love in his eyes was so potent it almost brought her to her knees. Gentlemen, Tyne said, get out of my building. They fled. Like rats from a sinking ship. When they were alone, Tyne exhaled, a long, shuddering breath. He slumped into the chairman's chair, running a hand through his hair. It's over, he whispered. Actually over. Luna walked over to him. She sat on the arm of the chair, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Not quite, she said. What? Tyne looked up, alarmed. Who else do I have to fight? Luna smiled, pressing a kiss to his forehead. You still have to marry me. Tyne froze. Then, a laugh bubbled up from his chest, a sound of pure, unadulterated joy. He pulled her into his lap, burying his face in the crook of her neck. Today, he murmured. We do it today. I was thinking maybe we wait until I have a dress that isn't covered in mud. No, Tyne said, pulling back to look at her. You are perfect like this. My warrior queen. He kissed her. A deep, soulful kiss that sealed their promise. I own you now, Luna, he whispered against her lips, reclaiming the words that had started it all. And I own you, Tyne, she whispered back. And this time, it didn't sound like a cage. It sounded like a home. 5 years later. The garden of the Park estate was in full bloom. Cherry blossoms drifted down like pink snow, covering the grass where a small boy was chasing a golden retriever puppy. Ji-ho. Be careful near the pond. Luna called out from the terrace, shielding her eyes from the sun. I got him, Mom, a voice shouted back. Jiho, 4 years old with his father's dark eyes and his mother's stubborn chin, giggled as he tumbled into the grass, the puppy licking his face. Luna smiled, leaning back in her chair. She was different now. The fear that used to shadow her eyes was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence. She wasn't just the mistress of the house, she was the heart of it. She ran a hand over the fabric of her dress, simple, elegant, white. Not a uniform. Never again a uniform. His fast, a voice said behind her. Tyne stepped onto the terrace. He had traded his severe black suits for a softer grey linen shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal the faint scars on his arms. He looked younger. Lighter. The weight of the world was no longer on his shoulders, it was shared. He placed a tray of iced tea on the table and kissed the top of Luna's head. He takes after his mother, Tyne said, sitting beside her. Always running toward trouble. And he takes after his father, Luna countered, because he charms his way out of it every time. Tyne laughed, intertwining his fingers with hers. Life had changed. The Mirai group was legitimate now. Fully. Tyne had spent the last 5 years dismantling the criminal underbelly of his empire, turning it into a force for good. They built hospitals, orphanages, schools. He was no longer the Shadow King, he was just a king. A benevolent one. Sarah lived in the guest house across the garden. She was finishing her nursing degree, finally living the life she deserved. Mrs. Park was still running the household with terrifying efficiency, but she smiled more often now, especially when Jiho snuck into the kitchen for cookies. And Seo-jun? He was a distant memory. A nightmare that had faded with the morning light. Happy anniversary, Tyne whispered, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Luna raised an eyebrow. Tyne, we said no gifts. We bought the vacation house in Jeju last month. I don't follow rules, he smirked. Open it. Luna opened the box. Inside lay a simple silver locket. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't covered in diamonds. It was old. Tarnished. Luna gasped. This is your mother's, Tyne said softly. I finally found it. It was in an evidence locker at the old precinct. I pulled some strings. Tears welled in Luna's eyes. She touched the cold metal. Inside, she knew, would be a picture of her as a baby. Thank you, she whispered. This means everything. You gave me a family, Luna, Tyne said, his voice thick with emotion. You gave me a life. A locket is the least I can do. He took the necklace and fastened it around her neck. Daddy. Look. They looked down. Jiho was holding up a frog he had caught, beaming with pride. A fine specimen, son. Tyne called out, grinning. He turned back to Luna. Do you remember what I told you? He asked. That first night in the penthouse. That you owned me. Luna teased. No, Tyne shook his head. He leaned in, his forehead resting against hers. I told you that we were a family. I just didn't realize back then that I was the one who needed saving. Luna cupped his face. We saved each other. Tyne kissed her. It wasn't the hungry, desperate kiss of their past. It was slow. Sweet. A promise kept. I love you, Mrs. Park. I love you, Mr. Park. Down in the garden, the wind picked up, sending a swirl of cherry blossoms into the air. Jiho laughed, chasing the petals. The cage was gone. The bars were broken. And in their place stood a castle built not on fear, but on love. And they lived, finally and truly, happily ever after.